All right, today we're going to go over the basic writing strategies for the SAT. In your SAT, you'll have one essay section and then one improving sentences, improving paragraphs, and sentence correction section. We're only going to go over that section today, and we'll make a separate video on the essay writing. All right, here's some general tips on identifying sentence errors. Those are the first sections that you do on the test where you have to change the wording of a sentence, for instance. One, you want to quickly read through a sentence, listening for an error. So read it slowly. Sometimes you might tell there's something wrong with the sentence just by reading it. You need to know the most common grammar mistakes, which we'll go over later. You want to see errors in idiom. Those are particular to our language. For example, we listen to someone. We don't listen at someone, right? Even though it sounds like listen at someone could be right. It's just called an idiom. A song is written by a composer, not from a composer. Again, from a composer does sound right, but it'd be by a composer. And also remember that some sentences have no error. That's when you pick choice E. Next, improving sentences. That's when you have one or two words that you underline. You got to figure out which word to actually highlight or change. Again, read your entire sentence. You want to read it slowly so it doesn't automatically correct an error and thus miss it. A will always be the same in this case. Okay. You also want to compare each choice to the original to clarify the difference, meaning you want to read each sentence with the new word that you think might be wrong and try to correct the sentence from there. Okay. We'll go over these three in the next few slides. The last section is improving paragraphs. So we have a whole paragraph and it might say, where would you put the topic sentence? Where would you put this sentence, for instance? How do you rearrange it? You want to read each paragraph first before you answer your questions. Some questions will focus on individual sentences. At that part, you'll go back to it. Different types of questions you'll have are general organization, which sentence to go in which order. Questions that involve revising sentences, that's changing some of the words around. And then there are questions with combining sentences. In general, you want you want longer sentences, but less of them if possible. Okay, so if you have three sentences that are saying the same thing, you can combine them into one sentence. Again, try all your suggestions before picking the best answer and make sure it's in context. The big ones are wordiness. If you have a lot of extra words than you need, you usually want to make it smaller. Redundancy. Sometimes they'll give a pronoun like it or he, and you're not really sure which one they're talking about. It might be two different people. And that has to do with vague pronouns also. Here are the main grammar rules you'll see. If you know all these rules, you'll do way better on your test. The biggest one is subject with verb agreement. Okay, so an example is a committee made up of several women are declining on the school budget next week. So the committee, right? That would be the subject of your sentence. That's what the sentence is about, who it's talking about. Committee is a singular thing. A big group is one committee. That means that the verb has to agree with a singular, right? If you see choice C says are would be a plural, right? So that means the are would be incorrect. If I said the committee is deciding on the school budget, that would be a correct sentence, right? So again, make sure your subject agrees with the verb you're talking about. You also have to make sure that the subject agrees with your pronoun. This is a lot easier to understand than it actually sounds, though. For instance, a smart tennis player such as Samantha is someone who knows how to move around the court, could hit winners at the net, and controls their emotions. So the pronoun there means many people, not just one, right? They is more than one person, right? They went to the movies. That could be, 3 or 4 friends. If you said you went to the movies, that's just one person, right? So there's a plural pronoun, but the subject would be player, like Samantha would be one person. You would want to change it to her emotions, right? And it could help to shorten the sentence here. A smart tennis player such as Samantha controls her emotions. See how I cut and condense the sentence? There you can see the error a little faster. Parallelism is another one. You want to make sure that the subject and rest of the phrase goes in the same order, essentially. So in the example, in a survey of the school's fifth graders, playing in gym class, painting in art class, participating in science, and lunchtime were all mentioned repeatedly as favorite activities. Lunchtime is not parallel to the other verbs, right? Playing, ing, right? Painting, ing. Participating, ing. You would have to make the lunchtime ing. Right? You could say eating lunch, for instance. That would be parallel verbs. You have to make sure you have the proper verb tense, if it's in the past, present, or future, for instance. 3 coaches decided not to pick the team right after practice that day, but they do talk on the phone and made it final decisions that night. Now C says do, that's the present tense. Right? We wanted to get the past tense though, because they decided not. As they decided, you need to make do instead of did. Did will be a past tense. You also have incorrect comparisons. Sam felt extremely confident going into the final round of interviews because his list of credentials was far more impressive than his competitor. So, competitor will just be one person, right? We want to compare it to many people. It would be his competitors. We also have list of credentials. Those are plural, okay? The last one is the proper number agreement. If you have a plural subject, you have to have a plural phrase as well. A travel tour through Italy is intended for families with a young child. Families would be plural. You would need this to be plural too. It would be young children. Child is singular, right? So those are the main grammar rules you need to know for your test. Again, more practice on reading different passages will help you understand where the error might be.